What's up, guys? Welcome back to my live stream. I'm Hero Serrano, and guess what I do in this channel? I share everything that I know about game engine development with you guys. So if you are new, guess what? You are in the right place because I share everything related to game engine development. And I usually go on YouTube, post videos, I upload them or do live streams as you see right now, and I answer your questions that you may have as a new game engine developer. So feel free to subscribe to my channel and also post your questions on the chat, and I'll be more than happy to answer your questions to guide you as you embark on this really cool hobby of developing your game engine. Again, I'm Jero Serrano. And I also would like to invite you to join my Discord server where we have over 562 members now. Each of us developing their own game engine, and we like to help each other a lot. So, feel free to join us. We are a really cool community, very laid back, and you're more than welcome to join us. And also, if you are looking for some resources that you may want to read, if you go to my website, heroserrano.com, actually let me share with you that. But before I do that, let me make sure that I'm actually sharing my camera and my monitor. Because last time I wasn't doing that. So if you go to my website, actually, heroserrano.com, and you click on books, on the navigation bar, that will take you basically to the books that I recommend any new game engine developer to start reading. I post the books that help me develop my own game engine, such as the books that you need to sharpen your linear algebra skills, your knowledge, rendering engine, right? What books should you read? And for the physics engine, these are the books basically that I strongly recommend you to read. So feel free to go to my website and also check these books out. Cool. All right, guys. So again, if you are new to my channel, please subscribe to my channel, so that way you can actually post your questions in the chat. If you are not a subscriber, you cannot post a question. So what are we gonna do today? Well, if you all have been following me, if you have been following my live stream for the past month or so, I've been slowly, integrating the scripting language into my game engine, also in GUI, and stuff like that. Last Tuesday, I did another live stream where basically I didn't do any coding. I answered most of the questions, mainly game engine development questions. And that's basically what I do in this live stream. Like 80% of the time, I just focus on you and answer your questions that you may have. And then I do a little bit of coding, right? That way you find this valuable. Mainly because I don't think that you will be able to to follow along with the coding, because I've been doing this for 8 years now, and I don't want to go back and explain everything that I did for the past 8 years. But basically, this live stream is just for Q&A, basically. All right, so just a couple of things. My game engine is called the Untold Engine. I've been working on it for about 8 years now. It's a 3D game engine for Apple devices, right? So you can develop games for your iPhone, iPad, or Mac devices. And it has been a really cool hobby. I never expected to fall in love with game engine development. But here I am, right? 8 years later, I'm still doing this. I work on my game engine every single day. It's a habit that I built over time, and now I'm also trying to build a habit of being more active on YouTube, and share everything that I know with you guys, right? Having said that, let me share with you what I've been working on with the game engine, which basically, if you look at my past live streams, you will notice that I've worked on adding the GUI, which basically is a framework that allows you to add your own UI into your application. But if you ever want to know more about my game engine, if you are curious about it, it's still in beta. But if you go to You can either go to my website and click on Untold Engine. That gives you a brief description of the Untold Engine, right? But if you go to, if you should go untoldengine.com, that will basically take you to the main page of my website of my game engine. And you will see some videos that I've uploaded, basically just sharing with people the latest release of the engine. But if you click on start developing, that basically will take you to my documentation page. Will basically will show you how to start working with the game engine. Now, the game engine is still in beta. It has most of the components already in place. It has a rendering engine, mathematics engine, physics and collision, particle system, camera system, you name it. It has several components. So you can start developing a game, right? But there's still more work to do. And one of the last things that I wanted to add to the game engine was a scripting language, which I use Gravity for that. Gravity is a scripting language. Very easy to use, and I strongly recommend you to use it. And then the other thing that I wanted to add was ImGUI, right? So that way it will allow you to set up your whole scene and stuff like that. But as I was integrating ImGUI and allowing you to add a scene and stuff like that, I had to do some changes into the architecture and how you start developing a game. So I will have to modify some of this documentation, so that way the latest version, which is 0.16, concurs with the documentation. Having said that, let me just go back here and let me go and show you what I'm doing. So let me just make sure where I'm at. Okay, so let me do a git checkout development. And I'm going to talk about, whether you should use Git through the terminal or to GUI. I've seen some debates lately. I want to talk about that really quick. All right, so I'm on development right now. That's my branch right now. So I'm going to run the engine really quick. Just for new subscribers that probably have not seen the engine. I'm just gonna run it really quick, so that way, where we are at and what are we gonna be doing today. But as this builds, I was gonna answer your question, but here's the engine. Again, this is the ImGUI and stuff like that. Everything we can basically load up a scene into this. I'm gonna load a scene that I did. This is my scene. Here's where you're gonna have the assets. It's a very primitive UI that I have for now, but it works. And I say mainly primitive because honestly, this has only been I have only been working on it for a month. The UI, so it's a lot more work, but it works for now, right? It even has a gizmo, so you can translate, rotate. You can do so many things with this already, right? I can select an entity, for example, and I can remove it, or I can add it back if I want to. I can select a particular instance of a class that I want to create, right? So as a field, right? So you can see the sync graph here. It's really, it's coming along, the whole UI. But now this is the problem that's going on, right? So right now, if I click, right now I'm on edit mode, right? Edit mode meaning that I'm able to edit my whole scene, right? Now if I do play, right, that will take me to a testing mode, right? That will, do the whole testing, whatever, right? I can even pause this. So now what I'm gonna do, right? And actually, let me show you something. Let me add up another player, but I'm gonna add this player as this kind, and I'm gonna move it up. And I believe that what I have, I think I do have gravity for this class. So if I do play here, you're gonna see how it starts to fall, right? So that's because I'm taking this scene, right, and that is in edit mode, and I'm making it go in testing mode, right? So now what I need to do though, right, what happens when the game developer already has completed all this, the whole, the scene, the editing, the whole game is complete, right? Now you want to push it to game mode, right? Release mode, right? So the player, the gamer will be able to play. Obviously, the gamer should not see none of these windows right here from MGUI, right? He should just see the game. So what I need to do is that, right? I need to basically have a way to transfer all of these scenes that we have here in this particular scene, edit scene, right? And somehow have it load up when we are in game mode, right? Now, it should not take that much of work. It should be very simple, but still, it needs to be done, right? So, let's do that. Let's work on that. And as always, let me make sure that everything is looking good here. All right, so let me bring up my. Let me delete. Nah, I delete it, but let me close this. All right, so again, I use GitHub as my repo for my game engine, and this is where where I log all of my issues. And one of the issues that I want to work on is this one, where basically I need to synchronize the scene data from the edit mode, just like I show you, into the game mode, basically, right? So let me mark this as in progress because that's the one that we're gonna be working on. And that should do it. All right, so now if you are new to the development world, right? I strongly recommend you to use Git. Git is a version control for your application, right? In this case, for your game engine, for your game, for your app, whatever. Please do use a version control. It's the best thing that you can do, all right? And do learn how to use it. Now, I've seen people say that, if that only real programmers use Git through the terminal, right? And if you use Git through the GUI, then that you're not a real programmer, which is something stupid. Here's the thing, guys. You should use the tool that makes you the most productive, right? If you feel that using Git through the terminal makes you more productive, then use that terminal. If you think the GUI makes you more productive, then use the GUI, right? It's all about productivity, right? The end customer, the gamer, the user of your application does not care if you use the terminal or a GUI. He does not care about none of that. He only cares that your app, your game engine, your game works and is efficient, right? That's all. So, use the tool that makes you the most productive, right? But one thing I will tell you though, that if you use Git through the GUI, do take the time to learn how to use Git through the terminal, right? Because the GUI can only do so much, and there will be those days when you are going to not know what to do or how to undo something through the GUI, and having the knowledge of how to use the terminal will pay off, right? So do take the time to learn how to use the terminal. It's gonna pay off, right? So do that. All right. Again, if you are new to my channel, I'm Harold Serrano, and I share everything that I know about game engine development. So if you are, planning to develop your own game engine, if you are a new game engine developer and you don't know where to start, hey, feel free to ask me, to ask your question here in the chat. This live stream is for you. I'm here to answer your questions. And if I do not know the answer, someone in my Discord server may know the answer, which most likely they will know the answer. Many members in my server are very knowledgeable when it comes to game engine development. They definitely know more than I do, and have learned a lot from them. So, either ask your questions or join us in the Discord server. All right, so now we are going to be working on this issue right here. And this is my workflow, right? This is the workflow that I use and that I recommend you to also use. Every issue that I need to work on my engine, I usually log it on GitHub issues. And then I use this particular number as the issue that I'm working on. And I also, just for my own sake, I also label them in progress so that way I know which one I'm working on. So right now I'm in the development branch, right? So what I'm going to do a git checkout, -b, and then issue 385. Now, some developers, they tend to add more description here. For example, they may add like enhancements, right? Because this is an enhancements actually. Right, so they may write, instead of issue, they may say ENH dash 385, that tells enhancements, or like something more descriptive. It's up to you. It doesn't really matter as long as you follow that Git workflow. That's all that really matters. All right, so now we have switched to my new branch, which is 385, right? So now we're gonna make those changes. Again, I don't think we're gonna be. It shouldn't be that difficult to do, because all what we need to do is the following. Number one, I need to make sure to add my. So the whole idea is this, right? That whenever we are gonna go from the edit scene to my normal game scene, I want my models to load up, right, with the correct class behaviors, right? So what we need to do is we need to call our serializer, deserializer, that will basically go into a file, read that file, and deserialize the whole scene, right? Because if you recall, what we are doing is that whenever we are, ready with our scene, we are saving it into a file, which means that, that's exactly what we need to do. Read it back. So this is exactly what I'm doing, right? I'm gonna load up the scene, and right now it doesn't want to. Boom, there you go, right? So now if I go to my normal scene, I should just basically do a load, right? So let me see how I did it here in my editor path, in my mGUI. And after this, I'm gonna answer another question, that you may have. This is the loading script. Actually, yes, let me do a load. Load assets. Is this the one? No, this is not the one. What I need is this one, load. All right, so again, just like I told you, what we need to do is call our serializer here, and then deserialize the whole scene that we store here. All right, so let's do this. Let me go to my sandbox. Actually, I think it would be a good idea if I talk a little bit about how this works. But basically, what I do here, let me do that, guys, so that way you have an idea of how I'm doing this. Because else, you are not gonna understand what the heck I'm doing. Alright, let me bring this over here, and this software always does this. And hopefully it allows me to do this right now. Okay. Fit to view. Boom. Alright. So I hope you can see that. Alright, so basically, right, my game engine works like this, right? We have my normal game loop here, game engine loop, and we have different components, right? We can have the rendering component there, the physics, the collision, stuff like that, right? And we also have a scene graph, which is basically a data structure that allows for fast traversal of the entities that you have in your scene, right? So basically, during every game tech, right, we traverse the whole scene graph, right? And all of these entities that you see here will go through the rendering engine, for example, then the physics engine, and then the collision detection system, right? They go like that. Imagine this is your, game tech, right? So this is how it goes, right? That's the whole, basically the whole underlying architecture of the game engine. Now, how do you think of this? This as the back end of the game engine, right? And this is the front end, right? This is the part where the game developer interacts with the game engine, and this is the part where only the game engine developer, in this case me, interacts with the game engine, right? So here, what I do here, I basically use an MVC component, the model view component, right? Where we have the view, which is the world in this case, I'm gonna call it view. Then we have the model, which is basically the game logic, and then we have the controller, right? Which is basically the controller, the gamepad, keyboard, mouse, whatever, right? And obviously these are connected. It's just an MVC component, simple as that, right? So you load up all of your scenes into the world, and then the world gives the entities to the scene graph, right? And then you just the whole entities will be rendered. There will be an update component here, all of them controlled by a model here. But basically this is the big picture of the game engine, right? So right now, how I have it, how I did it, right? And I didn't put too much thought into it. But basically, how I ended up doing this, that is with ImGUI, I separate. I have two different set of model view components. One model view component is only for the editing and the testing, and the other one is for the actual game release, right? So think of it like this. I have ImGUI here when I'm at the editing, and then the actual release, and I'm going to call it R release, right? And then I have my MVC, boom, 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 right? So this is my view, this is my model, controller, view, model, controller, right? So what I'm gonna do, I'm basically going to number one, I'm going to make sure that all of the entities that were saved in this view component will be transferred into the release view component, right? So whenever the game developer is ready to release the game, all of these entities will be transferred over automatically, right? And then what I'm going to do next is that I'm going to basically make this model component only one. It should not be two. It's the same thing, right? And then here the controller is always the same one, so there's not a problem here. This is okay, I'm going to basically just collapse these two models into one because they are basically the same thing. The only things that will differ us are these two view components, and that's about it. So what I'm basically doing, right, is that in the release mode of the game, all what I'm going to do is I'm going to ask the game engine to go into the file where I save the scene component and read it back and deserialize all of the entities so that it will be, just shown it to the gamer. That is basically all what I'm doing here, right? So that's why I need the deserializer. The deserializer basically, hold on, let me step back. So that when you serialize the scene, right, you're basically taking the entities in your scene and you are saving them into a file. That's the terminology. When you deserialize that, it means you read the file and you bring them back into the scene. So you bring that data back into the game entities and then are shown into the screen, right? So that's what I need to do. I need to load that file back into the scene, right? And it's as simple as that. All right, cool. And let's save this. Boom. So let's do that, and then I'm gonna answer the question that I promised to answer. Where is my sandbox world? This sandbox world is my actual one. Set enable grid, test pipeline. I don't even know if I needed that, but I'm gonna leave it there. But basically, look at this. I have all of these guys. Okay, this needs to be out. This needs to get out of here. I don't need it. We don't need this. Boom. We don't need a debugger either. That needs to get out. I'm gonna leave, yeah, I'm gonna take this out too. I'm gonna leave the skybox section there because I'm gonna need it later on. But basically, the deserializer is that, and I needed to add it here for the serializer.h. Now this guy, I don't need this here. Okay, so that's good. Now I just need the path to my file. And this is where I think I'm gonna have a problem. Because what I want is I want to save that here and I want to read it back. So let me see if I can. I'm saying that I may have a problem because I know that in Xcode sometimes like the path in your project are not what you think they are. I don't know how to explain it, but you need to follow a special. There's a way of how to find it. So let me actually let me just save that here. So let me look for it over here. Give me 1 second, guys. I'm just gonna save that file back there, and that should be. If I'm not mistaken, that is. Scene file. I think that is it. Okay, cool. Copy it, and I'm just gonna put it back into the engine here, and then I'm just gonna copy it into the resources. Okay, cool. So this is the file that I want to read back. All right. If that doesn't work, then we need to do something else then. Okay, so same file that for the. Okay, cool. That is it. So now, remember that right now when I load up the game engine, it goes into the edit mode right away, but I do not want to do that in this instance. What I want to do, I want it to go straight into my normal game mode. So how do I do that? Knowing for a fact that I changed most of the logic, um, I need to change some stuff here. So I believe that if I just do this, I should be okay. All right. I definitely need to make that a lot simpler. All right, so now let's build this and let's see what happens. All right, so one of the questions that I want to answer is this. Actually, someone asked me not long ago, why should you use namespaces in your game engine, right? What's the whole purpose of that? Why do you need to do that, right? The reason why you should use namespaces in your game engine, such as what you see here, 967, I use that namespace U for the engine, right? And then I provide the class. It's because namespaces will help you avoid any conflict with other methods or functions with other frameworks that you may integrate in your game engine, right? For example, let's say that in my game engine I have the method add, right? Add vectors, for example, and let's say that let's say, right, just for the sake of an example, that ImGUI also has the same method, add vectors, right? If you don't have a namespace, if you don't specify the namespace, you are going to have a conflict because your game engine, right, will not know which method you want to call, or which one are you referring to, right? So that's why you want to use namespaces. It is tedious to be writing namespaces, but it's something that you should be, that you should make it a habit. Again, it's for your own good, or else you are gonna go nuts trying to figure out what the heck is the problem. But basically, it's because of for that. It's just to avoid any conflicts with other methods from other frameworks. Basically, that is it. All right, so we have an error. Welcome to the world of developers. We always see these issues. All right, so what's the problem? And I shouldn't have done that. I shouldn't have done that. Okay, I think the problem is so sandbox net deserializer. Deserialize this, unload entities. Hold on, let me see if I can see the file name. See, that's the problem. I think the problem is that my string is not coming up properly, and I would not be surprised because that tends to happen when I do this. So when I do this, serialize game entity. So what am I saying with this? Is this a null pointer? Yep, that's a null pointer. I knew it. All right. So why is this a null pointer? Scene state manager, current scene. Scene state manager. It's not null here. Okay, my scene here is not scene state manager, and this one is it the same? U for this scene is no. Ha 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 ha. Hold on, let me see if the problem may be over here then. Okay. Mac OS. I think it may be the problem here. Sandbox scene. I think manager, change scene, sandbox scene. I go over here. Sandbox logic, sandbox world. I'm just going through all of this just to make sure that everything looks good. I'm loading components, sandbox world. That would take me to my load components here, and I wanted to go to my implementation, not to my declaration. Okay, where are you at? Load component, boom, here. All right. Let's see if I get here, if I get to this point when I load this up. And in the meantime, I'm gonna answer another question. So that way, you get some value out of this live stream. Another question that I get is, if I'm gonna develop my game engine, a video game, right? Should I use a game engine or should I program everything from scratch, right? Or everything from scratch and using C++. So here's my take on this, right? I am the type of developer that, in order to learn what I want to learn, I needed to learn the fundamentals first, right? For example, a good example, I'm very interested in AI and deep learning, right? Especially reinforcement learning. I think reinforcement learning and Q learning is a really cool topic. So, I want to learn how that works, right? Why? Because I may actually integrate that into my game engine. I'm still debating to do that, but that may happen, right? So I want to learn about that, right? And I do know that there are some libraries that I can easily use, right? I think TensorFlow, PyTorch, if I'm not mistaken, that I can start doing that right away, right? However, I am the person that I need to know, again, the fundamentals, right? I need to go in and really dive in and understand everything, how everything works, right? And I even got the book, Deep Learning, Reinforcement Learning. I even bought another book that talks about Q learning from scratch, neural networks from scratch, and that's who I am, right? I do not like to use a framework right off the bat without understanding the basics and the foundations. I cannot, that's not how I work, right? Why? Because in my opinion, if you have the foundations down, then you have a ground to step on and to build upon your knowledge, right? Just calling the functions in an API does not make me an engineer, right? Does not make me a developer. My mom can call a function, right? Anyone can do that, right? And so that's how I work, right? So one of the reasons why I developed my game engine was because I wanted to know everything about computer graphics. I wanted to know what in the world is a shader, which by that time I didn't really know what that was, right? I wanted to know more about linear algebra. Even though I took that in college, I wanted to get really good at that. I wanted to know how objects in a game, entities in a game, collide, right? What are the algorithms that are used for that collisions to happen, right? So, you know, because of that's how I think. I know that it usually takes me longer to develop an application because I need to know that first before I develop something, right? But now, if you're going to develop a game, right, should you use a game engine or should you do everything from scratch using C++? It really depends, right? It depends on your goals. Do you want to make money right away? Then use a game engine, right? Do you want to learn everything from scratch? Are you really passionate about that? Then go ahead and start developing everything from scratch. It's gonna be a long process, and that's the problem with with developing your own game engine. It's a very slow process. It's something that you are not going to see cool stuff on your screen right away. It's gonna take time for you to get acquainted with everything related to the rendering pipeline and OpenGL and shaders, um, and then the algorithms that you need to use and how to make your game engine efficient and not to mention all of the memory leakage that you have to deal with, right? So it takes a slow process. It's a long time. Number two, you are going to need to read a lot. I mean, there's a lot of reading that you need to do, a lot of time that you need to set aside just to practice with code and try to understand computer graphics, for example, right? You need to do a lot of projects, and because of there's a lot of reading, it can get very expensive, not only on the books that you are going to need to buy, and if you are lucky you may find them in your library. I doubt it, but that's if you're lucky. But aside from that, it can get expensive in the fact that the opportunity cost that you are letting go, right? In that time that you are developing your game engine, you could have developed your game and make money out of it, right? If you're the lucky one, right? So to answer your question, right? Should you develop a video game? If you are developing a video game, should you use a game engine or do everything from scratch? If you want to make money right away, just use a game engine. There's no need to develop a game engine from scratch. If you want to learn, if you have different goals in your life, then develop a game engine. You are not going to regret that. It is a really cool hobby. I enjoy it. I enjoy doing this every day. Your programming skills are going to improve tremendously, right? You are going to get really good at programming. Believe me. Even how you think when you see a problem with the mindset of how you think that troubleshooting will also change. Just like with anything, right? If you practice going to the gym every day, you're gonna get stronger. If you run every day, you are going to get faster, right? And have more endurance. If you code every day, you're gonna get better at coding, right? And that's what game engine development forces you to do. You need to code every day. I literally code every single day, at least for an hour. And if I can, then I'll just code like for 10 minutes. But just the fact that you're coding every day, that will improve your coding skills. So that's a good thing. All right, let's go here and let's see what the heck is happening here. So I do know that I get to this method, but I wonder. So according to this, what I'm highlighting over here, both the game world are not null pointers, so that's good, right? So I should get here. And what happens here is that I go into my active scene, right? So let's see what I have in my active scene here. I have a scene manager that deals with all this, so my active scene is this one. Hold on. Oh. Okay, so the first thing that I should do, I should come over here. Say, but boom, perfect. I'm over here. So here is where basically I set my world. That's where I call the serializer. Basically here in the net, right? So come over here. Hold on, where did that happen? Something was skipped. The serializer. Actually, okay, I see the problem. So I'm here in my active state calling the init method, right, for my world, right? I get here, I deserialize this, unload the entities, but then this should be empty. Yeah, that's right. Scene get game world. That's because I did not finish completing this yet. Oh no, but why? Scene init. Load components. I can bet you that the problem is that I forgot to make some changes here. Okay, let's see. Okay, hold on. Let's see. Okay, let's stop it here. I'm gonna put it right there. Okay, what's my scene here? What's my scene manager? Okay, so it seems that I'm calling something before my scene has been initialized, but I know my scene has been initialized already. Because if that was the case, so the problem is that I don't see that world, is that the scene is a null pointer, right? Again, guys, if you have any questions on game engine development, feel free to ask me here in the chat, guys. Be more than happy to help you. Right now, what I'm doing, I'm basically trying to improve my game engine. That is something that I like to do every single day, especially at night. And now I'm basically trying to find why is it that my that my scene for my game engine is actually failing. Um, okay, you for the active scene. I wonder why this is happening. Huh. All right. As I think about this, let me answer another question. This is another question that I've been, really thinking about. You know, if you decide to develop your own game engine, right? Like, the next question that you will have to ask or answer is, what kind of game engine do you want to develop, right? And this is an important question, right? Because if you are going to do this, I'm pretty sure you have big goals for your game engine, right? If you are just planning to develop if you're planning to develop a game specific for a game that you have in mind, that is cool, right? You already have that question answered. But what if you don't? What if you want to develop a game engine, a general game engine, right? And you decide to do this, and then once you have it ready, right? Like what's next, right? And that's what happened to me when I started developing my game engine. I really had no intention to make it like focus on a particular game genre. Right? I just went ahead and started developing more in that, making it more general. But then I soon realized, what? There's no way that I can compete, right? With Unity and Unreal. Not because I can't put the time and effort, right, to do that, but because the main problem here is that um, I don't have like an identity, right, for my game engine. I don't have like a value proposition that I can tell users, game developers, hey, use my game engine instead of Unity, Unreal, Godot, etc. Right? So one of the key questions that you need to provide to answer is like, your game engine, what value is it bringing to the table, right? What is this for, right? What type of game engine is this? Is it for only FPS games? Is it only for sports games, right? Is it only for role playing, whatever, right? So like you need to answer that question, and I think that's a very important question that you should answer, or think about where do you want to take your game engine, because you don't want to be in the position like the position that I am right now, where your game engine, is good, it works, you can make a game, right? But you don't really know where to take it, where to take it next, right? What value does my game engine provide? Like, this is a 3D game engine for Apple devices, right? That's great, but Unity also can do that, right? So when you're thinking of what the game engine to develop, think of it with a business mindset, right? Because it may turn out that your game engine comes out to be really cool, right? It turn out that people like your game engine, but if you're going to compete, you need to make sure that you have, that you can provide the value, right? Message the value to users of why they should use your game engine. If not, then you're just wasting your time. Well, not wasting your time because you have learned something, but still, right? You do want to make this I'm pretty sure that you may want to make some money out of this, right? It's gonna be hard, but it helps to know that there's something that you're bringing to the table. So think about that, as you are developing your game engine. And let's see what I'm doing here. What am I doing? Let's see. There is a problem. I need to figure this out. What is this going on? But it's already 11:45, guys. It's almost midnight here, and I do work tomorrow. So, but either way, guys, I hope that this live stream was helpful, to you guys. I hope that I was able to answer some of the questions that you may have as a new game engine developer. Feel free to join my next live stream as well. Also, feel free to subscribe. Please click the like button. It will really help my channel. And thank you guys. Thank you again for joining this live stream, and I'll see you next time. Hopefully I'm gonna go live again on Monday. Hopefully I have fixed this issue, and then I can show you what else I'm gonna be working on. Thank you guys, and I'll see you next time.